11 personnel live on location. Never before done before. We made it. We survived. We're here at Monticello Bank. I'm Nick Roush. This is Adam Luckett. And this is Keziah from Monticello Bank. We're at one of their 21 locations, 14 different markets. And it's where people matter. That's what I've learned. And can you tell us how much they matter?
Oh my goodness. So we've been around since 1895.
That's a long time.
A long time.
Very long time.
And we're still privately owned, and we have lots of people that work for us. And one thing that we do is we invest in our communities, and we want to, be very Kentucky forward, Kentucky focused.
Mm-hmm.
And, our partnership with KSR is kind of to, get our name out there, but also show that we want to support Kentucky and Wildcat
locals
fans.
like us, yeah, Wildcat fans. And here's the important thing too. There's a lot of those like big lenders out there now where come get a mortgage, you can do it in 20 seconds. And it's like, no. Just think local. You all are going to put the numbers on their side.
Right.
So Monticello Bank, check it out. Go NBC.
Go NBC is our mobile app, and then NBCbank.com is our website.
Yeah, and like we said, there's tons of different locations. This one's wonderful. Although I gotta admit, because I've lived here my whole life, I don't think I've ever been this north on Hurstbourne Lane.
Are you serious?
My whole life, yeah. This is like like parts of Linden. There's just parts of Louisville never been to.
Well,
So
it's super convenient. So now you've been here.
exactly. You just keep on going. You're like, oh wow, this isn't. Not all of Hurstbourne Lane is a traffic jam. This is actually nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, says the guy from Dixie Highway, who it's like a rolling just stop the entire time. Exactly. No, this is very nice out here. We're so glad you had us out here, and we appreciate you partnering with us because we can't yap about football all year round unless we got fine folks like you guys at Monticello Bank helping us out. So.
100%.
All right. Well, come see Keziah and everybody at Monticello Bank. They're all over the Commonwealth. Bank local. They're on your side. The people for the people by the people.
100%. I agree with that. Good logo.
Y'all need to hire Nick to do your elevator pitch.
We could.
It'd be my second job, on side hustle.
Yeah, we'll give you a 1099.
Have you ever done the telling part of it? I would get so nervous.
It's harder than it looks,
Yeah.
honestly. Yeah.
The one thing that's cool though is the little instead of licking your finger, you have the little sticky.
Yeah.
I want to know what that's made of. It looks like Play-Doh kind of, but it looks fun.
It's not Play-Doh. It's like this little pink dyed wax.
Oh man, and counting dollar bills. Oh man, but I'd be nervous. You don't want to be wrong.
Well, you've at least got a couple other people behind the teller
Okay.
helping you.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Well, we're out here at Monticello Bank. Thank you so much, Keziah, for having us, and we're just gonna have fun talking football. I hope we don't get in your way too much
No,
today.
you'll be fine.
Okay.
After you're here.
All right, thanks, Keziah. Appreciate it. Luckett, this is a fun time of year, although it's a little bit different. I feel like it's a busy time, but it's not. I don't know. It's weird. Like we're rolling out an SEC football schedule tonight at 7 p.m. for next season. So it's like the meat and potatoes of weird talking season, but it's also at the same time we're grinding, recruiting, hitting up the sources, and it's just the phone's blowing up.
It's a sneaky time of year because you're right. It's still 12 weeks, 11 weeks away from kickoff.
Yeah.
But a lot of important stuff's happening, right? So, like, a lot of stuff that you're going to be kind of focused in on in December, a lot of that pre-work is being done right now. So, the recruiting's a long process, especially high school recruiting. But now it's time to, figure out who you want to fill your open spots. What positions can we fill? What positions do we need to focus on when the portal opens?
Mm-hmm.
All of that kind of is being solved right now. And you're kind of the people with the spreadsheets in the recruiting department are kind of balancing the numbers and seeing these are our options. Are these options good enough? If they're not, then we need to focus on here. Or who do we need to close on? Who do we focus on? All of that. And it's really an important recruiting season, but it's also, Nick, OTAs are starting for Kentucky.
Yeah.
Next week. And so what that means is Liam Cohen's going to be out there working with Devin Leary. They're going to be throwing passes. Hopefully, guys who missed spring, Jordan Dingle, Josh Caddis, all of those guys are going to be back, and they're going to be able to kind of do some 7-on-7 stuff. So the early work for the seat, they're going to kind of figure out what who their dudes are and what their kind of tentative plan is going to be going into fall camp. So a lot of important stuff's happening. And then talking season is right around the corner in July, and then that's when it really gets ramped up when we really start previewing the season. But yeah, we're getting a nice little appetizer from the SEC Network tonight, getting the 2024 schedule, which will include one of
Yeah.
Kentucky and Oklahoma on Kentucky's slate next year.
You mentioned one thing I wanted to hit on before we talk schedule a little bit, but it's funny. Kentucky added what, 7 spring transfers? Six or seven,
right there.
But I was wanting to reach out, especially with the new guy, Sumo Karmbe, the NC State running back, because I'm just curious, how's this all going to work? What are you seeing him? But like they haven't even seen him in person, you know. I mean, it's not. So they get these OTAs, and I remember how happy Stoops was, and a lot of college coaches, but it's only 2 hours a week. 2 hours a week, and they're just like, yeah, so we get 2 hours a week with a ball. Where previously they didn't get any, and they would work ways around it, which was like using a beach ball or like a dodgeball as their. So we're not using a football, but we can still do our practice workouts with the coaches. So it's just a slow little drip, but at least they're going to get to see some of like, okay, this is how this guy runs. This is a little bit of what we can
What
do.
they used to do was hide in the building in the window, and they would look out, and they would have maybe the managers
Running
coaching through the coach.
Yeah.
So so now they just get to. Not much has really changed. It's just they get to be on the field. With them per se.
It's funny all the hoops we jump through to make college football happen. And this, like we said tonight's going to be a big one with the SEC schedule release. And first and foremost, you're not going to have your calendar ready. Because the schedule release is just who you're playing. It's not an actual schedule like it, because some teams are going to have to mess around with their non-conference dates and whatever to make it happen. But as you said, we're going to get either Kentucky's going to be playing Texas or Oklahoma next year. What say you? Who's it going to be?
Yeah, I think you mentioned the non-con. Like Kentucky plays in Akron week 1 as of right now.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Ypsilanti never happened. I was looking forward to Ypsilanti too.
I would bet that maybe gets switched up. But yeah, I think with Texas and Oklahoma, there's probably some non-con finagling they might have to do with make sure all the schedules fit. For me, Nick, I just think the decision's pretty easy here. I think you've got the Stoops kind of storyline.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a lot of schools that want to play that they're going to want Texas to play.
Yeah,
I don't think Kentucky's one of those schools, but there is the Stoops kind of
storyline
you have. So I definitely think Kentucky's going to get Oklahoma, and I think it's going to be a home game for Kentucky. And I think it's going to be like an early season game. It could be one of the early kind of ESPN primetime games early in the year.
Week 2, right past the Labor Day weekend slate.
I mean, if this year
the
goes
Florida night game,
this year goes like we think it will, Kentucky's going to have some legit star power on the team. When you look at Barian Brown, Dane Key, Deion Walker should all be back.
Okay. I got a question for you. What logo is Bob Stoops wearing?
Oh, that's a good question.
And will Cutter Boley be the starting quarterback?
It depends. I mean, his son. What year's his son? If his son's still on the Oklahoma team, that's your easy answer.
Oh yeah, that is an easy answer, because he was always rocking UK stuff, right? I mean, even when they played, they played somebody that was like a common. I don't know if it was. I forgot who Bob showed up for, but he loves to rock the UK stuff. But I think this is his son's last year. I think he was a super senior.
Okay.
So Oklahoma, UK. Maybe he does the split jersey.
I don't know if Florida split jersey. I think a nice neutral gray Oxford.
Yeah, that's more of a Stoops way to go.
Or a tequila polo. Or he could just he could borrow one of Peak's Renegade shirts.
We're the XFL Renegades. What is it with? Do we need to get in the booze business?
Apparently.
I mean, Bob's raking in with tequila. Clooney made $1 billion off of it, and Stoops is making a ton off his bourbon. Well, RD1. We should get in the booze business.
Snoop Dogg has a wine.
Snoop has a wine?
Yeah. My wife's regular supporter of Snoop Dogg's wine.
Oh, okay. I'm just a regular supporter of Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big Snoop Dogg guy. SNOOP. But yeah, is Cutter Boley going to be the starter? I love getting that question too, because I get it all the time. And here's the thing: for us, the rational answer is to say, I mean, they'll probably get somebody from the portal, but we'll see. But I'm going to hold your feet to the fire, Luckett, because it's a question I get all the time. Can Cutter Boley start in the SEC? We've watched him work out multiple times this offseason. Can he go from LCA to UK?
I think you'll see Cutter Boley take kind of a soft redshirt year, where they maybe will try to work him in some. But I think the plan is back up first year and then trying to think of the 2025. He's going to be who Kentucky turns it over to. But as of right now, I think the plan is probably going to be go portal. Again.
Can we get
we got to see how the backup situation works out this year. Does anybody kind of emerge as a real legitimate starting caliber option? That's one of the big questions, I think, this season. Does that happen? If it doesn't, then I think you're definitely seeing a portal visit. I think a portal visit's likely, as is right now. And Kentucky has shown that they've been like this 2 times in 3 years where they went and got Levis, they went and got Leary. They've shown that they can go get a good quality quarterback out of the portal. I think you're going to see something like that. I think you're going to see Kentucky potentially be in play for a guy who maybe just has 1 year left, because it is going to be a kind of 1 year thing before you turn the show over to your big prize recruit.
I was when this question will come up to, it's going to come up to Stoops during the preseason, and then he'll say, we're going to try to work him in, and then after the fact, when he doesn't get it, it's like, well, there wasn't the right time. How many times has he been trying to work in a quarterback over the years, and then it's just like, it just doesn't end up
It's going to be a little different though. Yeah, because
he's better. I mean, we're elephant in the room. He's a little bit better.
Yeah, because the upside is real with Bowley, and there's going to be some return on investment you want too.
Which, just before we get into the camp, night and day difference between Bowley this year and last year. Like, he just looks like an adult now. When last year we were watching him work out, there was a time where I thought, this kid, I know he's younger, but and he's pretty good, but he just was so scrawny and gangly, and I didn't know what to make of Cutter Bowley. It was like, he throws it well, but how well is he going to fit in? How is he going to mature? How is he going to develop? And it's obviously, we're just watching him throw a little bit here and there, but he has taken steps in the right direction, and you can see all that upside. You can see why Kentucky really likes him as a potential starter. Down the road, they can change the game. But back to the schedule. Do we have any other potential hot takes? If it's going to be Oklahoma, is there any Venables he'll be around. They'll probably be a 9-ish win team this year, maybe 10 or more, right? That's just kind of the MO there. Are there any other teams? If you got Oklahoma in the mix, who's another one you would see on there that would make you go, oh no, they're adding them too?
Well, Kentucky hasn't gone to Arkansas. Have you gone to Arkansas since you started this job?
Only for a basketball game. Went to Bud Walton. Never been a Razorback Stadium.
Last time they were there, they canceled the game.
Yeah, it was a rain delay, right? There was a thunderstorm, and then they just said, we'll just go home.
So that's why, they haven't been there in 11 years.
I'd like to go there. Fayetteville's really nice.
So
surprisingly,
I think that's going to be on the schedule.
Okay.
I think they're going to put that game on the schedule.
Fine by me.
You just played Alabama, so I don't think Alabama's going to be on the schedule. Right?
No,
they just played Alabama.
They've been on the rotation with Georgia for.
Let's establish who is going to who are the rivalries they're going to want to keep. Tennessee's going to be on the schedule.
Yep.
South Carolina is the permanent in the mock. They're going to be on the schedule. Oklahoma, we think, is going to be on the schedule.
So that's 3.
That's 3.
Let's say Arkansas too. Haven't played at Arkansas in forever.
Well, that's 4.
So we've already halfway home.
Now you have to.
You don't even have to watch tonight. We already told you.
You have to balance out these because they did the 2-tier thing.
Yeah.
Ross Dellinger, where they had top tier is like Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma, LSU, and then I'm trying to think of some other ones. Florida.
Did A&M make it into that mix?
I think A&M was.
Because A&M at home, that's another one. A&M hasn't been to Kroger Field since they got into the league. That one would make a lot of sense.
And then the bottom tier is Vandy, Kentucky, Arkansas, because they did a 10-year.
Yeah, they did a 10-year
combined conference record.
Yeah.
Tennessee was in that bottom tier. South Carolina, Missouri. So how they balance it, I think is going to be interesting because I think you're going. Because that's the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at that chart that Ross Dellinger reported.
See if they stay true to it.
And see how many games they gave each team from. Because what you would think they would do is kind of do maybe a 5-3 type thing.
Mm-hmm.
You play 5 of the 7 in your tier, and you play 3 of the
one's another tier.
The 8 in the other tier.
That makes sense.
That's how I would think they would work it out, but I don't know how that math works out. I would have to sit down and break the numbers down. But that's one interesting thing I'm looking at. I think a lot of the permanent opponents, I think they're going to try to keep. I think you're probably going to see Kentucky play. You're going to get one in Georgia, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to play. I would imagine they'll keep the Vandy and Missouri games. Location that just makes sense if you're.
It would be nice to play first-year Florida head coach. Who's next up behind Sunbelt Billy?
John Summerall.
Oh no, God, that would be a nightmare. That would be an absolute nightmare. But man, he does check all the boxes for them, though, doesn't he?
You can't hire two Sunbelt coaches in a row.
That's true.
Florida
That's
was
true.
gonna
Whew, okay. All right. All right. Saved us there. I am. It's one of those things where every time now I watch a SEC schedule release show, though, I get PTSD because I go back to the COVID year, and we had to keep doing this during the COVID year, right? Like we had to keep making content. I'm on the radio talking about like, well, are they going to play games? Are they not going to play games? We had the same radio show 100 times, and we talked about the schedule 100 times. And then Friday afternoon, this is when people are just starting to get out. We're going to a pool, going to a friend's pool, and then in the middle of it, they're like, "Oh, the SEC is announcing its conference schedule," and I'm mother bleeping them to you know what. Like, you pick now, Sankey? You couldn't have done this besides Friday at 3 p.m. And I just now, every time I watch an SEC schedule release, I'm like, just put it in prime time, do it up big. And that's what they're doing now. We're going to get 2 schedule release shows because we're getting the opponent's release and then we're going to get another one.
And they usually do week by week, but they're not going to have weeks here.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how they did it. I did 2 weeks ago. I kind of sat down and I tried to do the tier thing, like I talked about.
You did that. You did the spreadsheet.
But I only did for Kentucky. Now Oklahoma, I didn't have Oklahoma on there, but I had A&M coming to Lexington. I would probably sub that one out for Oklahoma. So what I would have is a home games for Georgia, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Oklahoma. And then for the away games, Arkansas, Florida, Missouri, Tennessee. So typically, you're getting the East schedule, but you're just drawing kind of Oklahoma as kind of the second West team you're drawing. I mean, it's a pretty similar schedule to what Kentucky's always gotten. I'll be interested to see how close they keep it to kind of what teams have played in the past. I mean, the competitive balance is going to be the phrase like Sankey uses on the show tonight.
Yeah. It's going to take a long time for us to deprogram our brains too, because we just think of East and West. And I know it took me a while to get used to that for basketball when they went away from divisions, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. So it's going to take us a while to get used to this new normal. But it's exciting off-season fodder. We're going to be talking about, writing about it. And once that happens tonight at 7 on the SEC Network. In the meantime, we need to talk Kentucky football recruiting here at Monticello Bank, where people matter. 21 branches, 14 different locations across Kentucky. Go check them out. This is really nice. I like it. It's very nice. Can't overstate how nice it is here at Monticello Bank. Almost as nice as I really like some of the kids that they've got lined up. But is there part of me? Are you worried at all that none of these guys have actually popped yet? Because there's 4 or 5 guys where I've got some RPM picks in. It looks good. Demarion Witten, like that guy, could be awesome. Willie Rodriguez. Brian Robinson. I do get the sense Brian Robinson, when he rescheduled his visit, he moved up the Penn State one, and then he's going to get rid of that, take care of it this weekend, get his decision ready, and then announce it. So at least I feel like all these things are lined up. Now it's just a matter of doing it, making it happen, because even though it doesn't matter that much, not really, because you got to sign him still at the end of the year. But at the same time, I mean, Michigan's got 17 verbals. Ohio State's got a bunch of verbals. It just looks and feels, you feel much more secure. I'm starting to I don't have it yet, but if next week happens and there's not a sort of rash of commitments, then I'm going to start having a little anxiety. Like, oh, they were in a good spot for a lot of these dudes.
Number one, no, I'm not surprised. Like, the kids you usually get committed on these are guys you lead on. They had maybe, if they had a lead, it was a small lead on a lot of these guys. The one, I think Willie Rodriguez is the one we're really waiting on.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a silent commitment.
Right.
Just when is he going to announce?
Let's see your edits. Yeah. Show me your video.
Brian Robinson, he's going through the process. He's going to announce this summer. It sounds like I like Kentucky's chances there. Cam Dooley's another guy. I think I would favor them at the moment.
July 4th,
Independence Day. He's committed on July 4th.
There's always one.
So you're just having to wait a little bit on these prospects. And I think there's some that they're in a good position for, but they just still got to close. So it might be like a more August decisions. But I think overall, they're behind. They're moving slow regarding recruiting right now. And I think next year you could see that begin to change. Like Stone Saunders, it sounds like he might make a decision pretty soon.
Yeah.
It's a class of 2025 4-star quarterback. They could have a quarterback in the fold early. They just haven't had that really in a long time. And so with Boley, he did create some momentum, but it was so late in the process that you would like to have him at your junior days as a commitment.
Yeah.
Right.
In February or whatever that is.
In January and March.
Yeah.
You just have him late. So it's a similar start to last year. I think they're in a better position as of right now than where they were last year, but they still have some work to do. And they still get, Jaquan McRoy's a huge visitor.
Yeah,
this
big time.
weekend.
So back-to-back weekends, Kentucky's going to have top 100 offensive tackles on campus. And I think that's why you haven't seen ultimately, like other offensive tackles or offensive linemen commit, because they're like, well, got this guy, Jonathan Daniels, coming in. He's a top 100 guy. I've heard that. I'm not going to lie, like it. I did the thing, and I do this quite a bit. Sometimes when guys pop up like Daniels, that UK kept under the radar, and then he announces, oh, I'm going to an official visit. Sometimes I think that's like he's throwing them a bone, right? UK was
like Robert Stafford last year.
Yeah.
Kid that ended up in Miami, cornerback, top 150.
Perfect example.
You're just like, oh, that's surprising, but that doesn't seem like a kid they're going to get.
But then I heard a lot of stuff that, like, actually UK is kind of up there. Like Florida State's the one to beat, but UK is going to be in the next tier, right? That visit went really well. So I'm curious with Shaq McCroy. It's every time he takes a visit, there's a lot of positive buzz afterwards. We heard that with, was it Oregon was the first one? And then you had Arkansas last weekend, Kentucky this weekend. Maybe Kentucky does enough to be that, oh, well, this is the last bit. Maybe they get the last word in for this summer and he gets an early decision. I think maybe it might be a little bit wishful thinking on my part, but it'd be real nice.
He's announcing on June 30th. That recruitment is not over on June 30th.
No.
This is going to be an old school SEC dogfight to the bitter end. So,
and when you say dogfight, I want to also be clear too. This is also a like, well, I heard so-and-so is dropping a bag. But like now it's all above board. That's the weirdest part of all of this is like the whole, like you're hearing like, well, money talks kind of stuff. And they would kind of like nudge. And it's like, no, yeah, you can pay them the money. Go to Monticello Bank, take the money out, put it in the collective and give them the money. That's how it works out. And that's another thing that you're
they used to just bring the duffel bags in here and just say, throw it in here and we'll go.
Make sure it doesn't got the blue ink in there, right? We don't want to pop that open. And
we'll go down to your church and we'll do the collective. We'll just handle it right there. No one's asking questions at the church.
And do you think they still have the bags that pop open?
You talking about the bank?
Yeah. You still think they got those? I have to ask because I have to go in there just to make sure.
We'll ask while we're on our way out.
Yeah. Why are you asking? But I actually know somebody that has seen a bag drop before. And it was, I'm not going to say the prospect, but it was actually a basketball player at not the University of Kentucky. And it was just like a manila envelope. Brought it to lunch, slid it across the table. Here you go. And that was it. I think they'd be a little bit sneakier, but no. As long as nobody else is watching, like whatever. Man, I would have loved to be in a bag, man. Do you think you could pull it off?
Sure, why not?
I might be a little bit too, I don't know. I'm not a very sneaky. I'm not incognito.
Think how important you would feel, though, if you were a bag man.
Oh, and that's why people do it.
You're walking around like, I'm making stuff happen for this program.
and that's part of what was such an allure to it, right? Because those people who, like, I mean, I want to donate, I want to help my program. Nothing feels more hands-on than literally giving money to a guy that's going to come there and star for you, right? Like I deal with fundraising for the local high school. You know how hard it is to fundraise for financial aid? Pretty hard. Or like just like we're going to get air conditioners. Nobody cares about that. But if you're going to build a building, people will fork up all kinds of money because they want to either see the building, put their name on it. Same thing with paying players, right? And that's how now I'm curious how much the collective, if that's if it has that same benefit for some of them. Like they're still getting that rush, right? The same Johnny Booster who is, $500 handshakes. If he wants to do the collective, or if he just would rather do the old fashioned bag drop. Oh, that's good.
Fluid.
Oh, it's always a fluid situation. But at least as of right now, the good news is that, we aren't doing. Remember, last year when Kentucky didn't have commitments, we were, oh, well, the collective, it's blah, blah, we got to get it done. And we were doing all this hand wringing over nil. We're not there with Kentucky football between Commonwealth causes, the 15. I believe there's another one, but these guys are getting taken care of. I mean, you saw it in the portal. Devin Leary's top 10 transfer portal player overall. One of the top quarterbacks arguably. So, you don't do that if you don't have a decent nil situation. So at least Kentucky, they're doing fine in that department right now. I think the other part of it is just sealing the deal, closing. We've been at the camps, and the camp situation was a little bit different this year, Luckett, because I felt like we had a lot more guys in the past competing for spots, if that makes sense. Didn't get as much of that this year.
No, it was weird because the two big Sunday showcase camps were kind of light. The more bigger action happened
During the week.
during the 1 days.
You have Cutter show up and he might throw to somebody.
Which can kind of be hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was definitely more lighter. The feature camps, which are through the Sunday camps, were definitely lighter this season.
Yeah, so a little bit different aspect, but I still love them. Even more so just to have conversations with Liam Cohen about burning CDs. There's just very much it's laid back. It's also cheap. Do you need merch? You were there?
I did not. I heard you.
I cop some merch. They sell it really cheap. Next year, guys, bring your cash. It's like $50 shirts for $25. Yeah, don't publicize that too much, but easy way to get merch. The stadium, the turf looks wonderful out there. I'm very much excited for them to roll it out.
Yeah.
I'm also excited too. Let's roll out some jerseys, UK.
That's kind of been hidden.
Yeah.
I think a little bit, but they are getting new unis this year, and I think people are probably going to be excited.
We mentioned some of the new
What
guys.
we heard like a rumor, like I think it was
2021 they were going to wear what was the helmet?
It was the black helmets, right?
Was that what it was?
And then 2 years later, we finally see him for the first time.
And Roush was not impressed. They're not wearing black helmets.
They're never going to wear black helmets. And then not only do they wear black helmets, they actually put the new logo on them, which we haven't seen very often. The other thing that I like too is that we some of these guys, we're seeing them either show up on campus for the first time, or we're seeing them for the first time in a few months. Did you see your boy Caddis yesterday?
I did not see him out there yesterday.
He's looking good.
He must have got out there.
He was on the jugs machine,
after
man.
I left.
Well, they're having a competition, right? They told us tight ends versus receivers. Who's going to catch more balls? The one that was the most eye-opening in a good way. Like, I expected Grant Godfrey to be a good athlete. I mean, it's kind of like the new committing Antoine Smith we're going to talk about. But a surprising one I've always had, some of these offensive linemen, you don't know. Like they check a lot of stuff. I think that's the hardest position to evaluate and recruit, just because they got stuff, but like it's so early in their developmental process, you don't know where they're going to go. Malachi Wood always looked like a basketball player playing offensive line. He had good dropbacks, he had good pass sets, and he's got good length, but is he going to be able to get the weight? Like, can he drive people off the ball? And he put on 30 pounds this spring. I mean, like, good.
He looks a lot better.
He looks like an SEC offensive lineman, right? Like, instead of just like some big kid who was really tall, he looked very good. And that was a very encouraging sign.
That was my biggest thing for him. I just didn't know if he could, because he's got a skinny front. There wasn't a lot of.
Right. Like, he's gonna be at the training tables with the diets where you've got like a bunch of eggs and your protein
but
shakes.
He's pushing 3 bills right now, which is a
great sign
to see, I thought.
Which gets us to a question, and I'm sorry, I want to apologize to the person on Twitter who asked this. It was a great question, but it's one that got us thinking: which position does Kentucky recruit the best? who does Mark Stoops have the best track record of recruiting? And it's best to go by position. I think if you went by pure hit rate, if you went by coach, the Summerall guys were pretty good hit rates. Klink was a close second because they weren't as high volume. You know, there's only like 2 or 3, and they were recruiting spots, and it was always like a late, fun surprise that was good. But from a positional standpoint, it gets trickier because, like, if we're being honest, tackle might have been the best position that they recruited up until the hits started piling up in the last year or so.
Yeah, but they also might have had guards playing tackle.
Darian Kennard. But Darian Kennard, 3 or 4 year starter, you got an All-American there. You had a 5-star in Landon Young that both hit and were multi 3-4 year starters. That's significant. Additionally, Cole Mosier was a former walk-on that you got a lot out of early on in the Stoops tenure. Now, there were obviously some of those guys that you remember. Josh Kroc, that's a fun name from the past.
Yes, I do.
Little Jarrett LaRubio, guys you just never heard of because there's going to be some swings and misses. But I thought tackle was a decent one to start, but definitely not the best.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at big running backs.
Yeah,
Benny and Chris were two good ones to hit on.
Yeah, and Boom,
they got a lot of mileage out of them.
Boom was he's like the highest ranked one of them all, and he was great from the get go. He played.
Tight end hasn't had star power, but they've just had quality starters rolled in and out
Mm-hmm.
of there. I think the edge has been pretty good.
Yeah,
They've maybe not had the depth there that I think people have wanted, but they want Josh Allen, Boogie Watson, J.J. Weaver. I mean, that's a solid 1, 2, 3 to roll into.
The off-ball linebackers might be the most. Like finding a miss there is tough because in a lot of these guys were kind of like Benny and Chris, where D-Jack just camped with Kentucky, got an offer because he was just a dude. They're like, this guy's going to be a dog. He recovers from Achilles injury.
I think important thing to look at.
Tackles.
They've hit on high quality recruits like Trevin Wallace. He's been a hit so far.
Mm-hmm.
They've hit on guys who've had kind of high 3-star DeAndre Square. They've hit on transfer Jacquez Jones.
Yeah, and
they took a swing on De'Eric Jackson, a guy who didn't have a lot of recruiting or attention, and he's been a hit. So they're hitting on all the tiers there.
Yeah, Courtney Love going back even further. Cash Daniel, where Cash had his faults, but he was a solid player.
Jordan Jones.
Yeah, really, man, the fun.
Chris Oates was a hit, but it ended unfortunate. But that was a big time recruiting win, and he was good right away.
Yeah, it's and so when you look at next up, one of the guys that could be the next up in that group, Antoine Smith, who was the only commitment on following the weekend, the huge Kentucky football official visit recruiting weekend. And this is a guy you put on commitment watch early. We're all over about it. He comes from a very athletic family with half brother played at Duke. Mom was a track star at Miami. Dad also played football or basketball.
Played hoops at Utah State.
Yeah, at Utah State. So there's a lot of athleticism there, and he's a multiple sport guy too, kind of like Cam Dooley, who basketball player too. A lot of athletic traits with Antoine Smith, who committed to Kentucky.
Yeah, I think there's a robust potential because he's never played linebacker before.
Yeah.
He's 195 pounds. How big can he get? But the athleticism and the traits you mentioned are just jump off the page. He's a legit 6'2", between 6'2" and 6'3". He looks like he's got really long arms, and he's got speed on speed on speed.
Yep.
And on tape he shows quick twitch get off, which is important in football.
Mm-hmm.
And so if he puts it together, you could see him being a first-round draft pick, because of all the traits if they all come together. But he's coming to Kentucky. He's playing a position he's never played before. He's strictly kind of a stand-up outside linebacker who's just crashing down every snap at Atlanta Westlake right now.
Mm-hmm.
But there are intriguing traits with him, mainly the speed and the size and the frame. And if he grows into those, Kentucky could really have something here. But I do think they're taking a big swing on him. That there's no guarantee. But I do think at worst he's going to be a pretty good special teams player.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to cover kicks right away and be a weapon, I think, on kickoff coverage.
You ever been to Westlake in Atlanta?
I've not. What area is Atlanta? Is it in?
It's not west, actually. It's actually south.
South Lake.
Yeah. But they have a PGA Tour level golf course there.
Oh, that's over there.
Yeah, that's that.
Okay.
I forget what the name of it. It might be
It's
West
called
Lake.
East Lake.
Oh, so wow, we need to go to this lake.
Pretty
Sounds
sure it's
like-
called East Lake.
Sounds like a great golf course or a great just area. Yeah, and then I think there might even be a South Lake too, but no North Lake.
There's a South Lake in Texas. That's the big South Lake Carroll.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't that that's where like Baker Mayfield went, right?
He went to Lake Travis.
Ugh,
Quinn
too,
Ewers went to South Lake Carroll.
too many lakes.
South Lake Carroll. Someone else went there too. That was a quarterback. I think no. Breeze went to Lake Travis too. I think.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. Someone might tell us in the chat.
Favorite lake in Kentucky, Luckett?
Cumberland's one I've been to a lot.
The most. I like the rocks of it. That's
I've
just
only-
kind of neat.
I've been to Dale Hollow only one or twice, and I really like that. I mean, that was pretty sweet.
Nolan gets a lot of people in Louisville go to Rough River.
It's just close.
But Nolan, I like Nolan. It's nice.
It's nice. It just it's very skinny and it gets overcrowded.
Yeah,
But
but
it is a nice.
kind of
lake.
like that though. You can just splash around in the coves. The ones that I've seen pictures of people at Kentucky Lake, and that might as well be Kentucky Ocean. It's enormous. It'd scare me being out there in a boat in choppy waters. Not for me. Not for me. Although I'm a good swimmer. You ever?
You got long limbs.
Yeah, it
helps.
helps. It does help. We talked about tackles earlier, the big ones. That's obviously so. Kentucky's hit on one premium position, Cutter Boley. The next premium position is Brian Robinson. He could fill that. The third one is that tackle. Do you have any concerns right now? I know you've broken it down extensively. The guys at the top of the board are still there. Do you have any concerns further down?
Yes. I mean, it just has like they just haven't done a good job. It's not just this year problem. Like it's been the last couple of years. It's just been a problem. I think what we're seeing now, Nick, is they have two guys they really want, McRoy and Daniels.
Yeah.
And I think they're kind of really focused on trying to get at least one of those guys. And I think they're slow playing some others. I think you mentioned Fred Johnson, who's going to Louisville this weekend for an OV. Cleveland, Glenville. I think they feel like that's a guy they can even get, even if they commit. He committed to Louisville this weekend. They feel like Vince probably feels like he can get him at some point in the process.
The dynamics of this are fascinating because you don't want to have him commit like all the timing of it from UK's standpoint. It seems like there's some conflict on whether they want to get him right now or later. And then it also feels like there's a little bit of we don't want to look bad and lose a guy from Ohio to Louisville like that. What? But I think if you're looking from a PR perspective, I think it's wise for UK to just kind of inch their way into it and potentially solo play it here because if you can't flip a kid from Glenville, from Louisville to Kentucky, I mean, to play offensive tackle, that's a premium position. And it's a better PR win if you flip it from Louisville, right, than just getting the initial win in June. But I know it's just a lot at play because this is the first time they've actually gone against Louisville for somebody in recruiting. I know there was Sean Boykins at North Hardin, but Kentucky wasn't really all that interested, right? Like he had an offer, but that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, and then someone mentioned Duke Watson in the chat. I think Kentucky at running back, they could have gotten Duke Watson on campus for an OV, and they didn't. They've kind of zoned in on some other guys, so that wasn't really a head-to-head with Louisville.
Yeah, it was right. Like and that's why this Johnson one's fascinating because he's also a pretty risky player. There's a lot to like about him, but there's also
he's got some Kenneth Orsi energy where I think he could play tackle, but guard might be his best potential long term.
And so, do you want to go and have this big knockdown drag out with Louisville over a guy who isn't a guaranteed hit in a pretty important position where you need kind of guarantees? So that recruitment's just fascinating. We also had Hines. Is it Jack Hines or Nick Hines? Not Nick Haynes. Jack Hines, who committed to Wake Forest, if I'm not mistaken. Where that one feels like they went all in on him, and Kentucky was just like, well,
trying to keep him warm type of thing.
Yeah, and so that's why there's part of me, I don't want to panic too much because it is early, and if they really want somebody, they can go get them. But on the other hand, it just feels better to have more guys in your recruiting class than what you've got right now.
Yeah, again, I think they got two big fish they're going after. After that, I just want to, what's the contingency plan? Jordan Floyd was another guy from Atlanta. Again, kind of a Hines thing. I think Kentucky was lukewarm on him. Georgia Tech put on the full court press. He's announcing on Friday. I think he's going to pick Georgia Tech. Mercer Lanuski, Nick, from Cincinnati.
Ooh, I found out how to pronounce his name. Linieski.
I saw that too. He has it on.
Yeah, he changed his Twitter thing
was
for us
smart
to figure it
by
out.
him,
Very smart.
Lunieski. So, but him, I watched his tape last night, and it's solid. I could be talked into him.
You got to be talked into the brother too. That's the part. Yeah,
that's the second
he's
point.
got the
Does
baggage.
he want to go somewhere without his brother?
His brother's a guard. Not his guards. His brother's probably a mat guy.
That's the thing with that recruitment. How does that kind of shake out? He only has an OV scheduled to Michigan State, so I think he's a guy that can. Fred Johnson we've talked about, but there's a lot of guys off the board like Kevin Haywood.
Yeah, that was tough.
That was a guy you wanted. He goes to Wisconsin. Kai Greer was the guy that got on campus twice in the spring for an unofficial visit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can't get an OV with him. He goes A&M. He goes Stanford. Commits to Stanford. Right when he got back from his official visit. So that and then like typically guys that commit to Stanford, Nick, aren't flipping.
Yeah, they're going to Stanford.
And so
there's something about that Palo Alto.
Derek Plaz was a guy they offered late. They couldn't make much traction with. He committed on his Penn State official visit. So there's just not a lot of options that we know about right now. I mean, really, their eggs are kind of in this McRoy Daniels basket, and then Johnson he's right now the next best option. That's why I was a little bit surprised because they got a lot of wiggle room here with this line. Why wouldn't you just go ahead and get Johnson?
Just go ahead and take him. Yeah.
And cancel the little. Don't even mess with it. So it's interesting that they're doing that. Is there someone they maybe like more than Johnson? Do they not? Do they feel like Johnson's a guard all the way? So there's other guards they probably like. So they're just kind of in this weird area that they have to get it figured out, and they really they're going to have to pick one of Daniels and McRoy. They're not going to get both of them.
Yeah.
You got to pick one, and you've got to take your big swing.
Mm-hmm.
And the big NIL package you put together, it should be
for
one of these guys.
Which one would you take?
That's a good question. I think McRoy's he's a true right tackle all the way. Like he is
heavy-handed.
Well, just a monster. Like 6'8", 340. He moves better than you think, but the weight is the question. Can he keep the weight down?
Mm-hmm.
But he's never going to be a slim 330. It's always going to be, you want him to be kind of a skinny 365. Mm-hmm. He's just going to be a big old dude. And so can you keep the weight down? And that was you just had Keontae here.
Yeah.
And that didn't go great. I think he's the more realistic one. So I would probably say him or Daniels. You wrote about this yesterday. He's going to be hard to get out of Florida State. He's from the Panhandle. It's a big Florida State recruiting region. Getting him out of there could be tough. I think he has the higher ceiling. It's just, I don't know. Size-wise is a question with him. He doesn't look very tall on tape. Does he have the size to play tackle? I think he's got a really good chance to be a very, very good player, high floor, but it might be like left guard. Can he play left tackle is a question. I think both of those guys got a chance to be really good players and could be starters fairly quickly at Kentucky. So getting one would be a good find. But if I had to guess one, more likely I would say McRoy.
Okay. Well, it's and like you said, these are recruitments that are not going to be ending tomorrow. Even if they did come with a commitment, you're in it for the long haul for one of the two. It's going to be busy. We've got another round. McRoy, he's headlining this weekend's official visitors. There's another kid that just came on the scene, Jalewis Solomon, I believe is his name, an athlete who plays both ways, that 4-star, two-sport athlete sort of guy. And a lot of schools are recruiting for DB. I think Kentucky might have a shot recruiting a receiver. So you know how it is. Some of the defense guys want to play offense. The offensive guys want to play defense. Kentucky's usually pretty open to let them play what they want. That kind of gives them a leg up. But there's going to be quite a few people there this weekend. What I'm fascinated by, a lot of schools are doing official visits the following weekend. Well, the following weekend, Vince Marrow's getting married, so Kentucky doesn't have any official visits planned. If this were under harder times like it, I would have loved loved for some hot take guy to say, Vince Merrill don't care about recruiting. He'd rather get married than recruit.
Well, Vince is no stranger to weddings around commitments. Christian Conyer last year, I believe what was his
It
daughter?
was his daughter's wedding. Yeah, that was, oh, man. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So, yeah, I mean, you mentioned
yeah,
that Florida State's one of their big official visit. I think
it's when Witten's supposed to go to Ohio State, too, is the 23rd. We'll see if that
Daniels will be
how
at
that
Florida
happens.
State that
Yeah.
weekend. Solomon will be at Florida State that weekend. So, yeah, that's a big guy we really haven't talked about, Cameron Keys,
Mhm.
cornerback, another panhandle guy, 4-star cornerback. I think Kentucky's got a real shot at him. And that could be a nice win. He's got some intriguing traits as a player. So that's one to watch on, but I think he goes to Missouri that weekend. So yeah, there's going to be some guys that are going to visit there. Can you stay in the lead if you're in the lead?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm also wondering why Vanderbilt is showing up on all these lists and getting these visitors. Barton Simmons, go back to 24/7, dude.
I tried to tell y'all that was a good hire. Clearly was a good hire. And I got roasted on this show last year. Not getting roasted as much anymore.
When he came on and said, "Well, we're going to compete for national championships at Vanderbilt," he made news that day. That was smart. Clark Leach, there's something about him. There's just, I don't know what it is. It's because he's so Vandy. He's just the most Vandy coach ever. He's just so boring. I don't know what it is.
That's why he was a smart hire, because he knows what it takes.
He's a boring Vandy guy that could stick around. Which, speaking of Nashville, that's going to be around the corner before we know it. You're going to be taking some vacation. We're all about to get some vacation time in around 4th of July. SEC Media Days will come around. But a few things we got to talk about before we get out of here from Monticello Bank. It's been a lot of fun. First and foremost, we got a little special edition coming up on the show before Father's Day. So tonight, in addition to 11 personnel, also got an extensive sit-down interview with Brad White we had yesterday, the Kentucky defensive coordinator. A lot of fun. And Brad has sometimes in interviews he gives off a little bit of Clark Lee energy in that, like, he's very thoughtful and long-winded. But we got like the fun long-winded where we're talking Father's Day. He shared some stories about kind of what it's like being the sort of team dad. So I think you all very much appreciate it, and you'll also get a better understanding of why Kentucky's been able to keep Brad White for so long. I mean, this dude is a former NFL coach they've had for 6 years, and 5 for a defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen very often in the Southeastern Conference.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't happen very often anywhere, unless you're Brian Ferentz and they just can't fire you at Iowa. Like it just doesn't happen. So
yeah, I think you look at programs that are able to, outside of like the elites, Alabama, they're having constant turnover. Georgia's having constant turnover.
Mm-hmm.
Teams that can thread the needle and hit that 8-9 win season that are consistent, they're able to have coordinator stability.
Mm-hmm.
And I think White, you have that. And now the hope is you want it, like, can you get 4 and 5 years with him and Cohen on the same staff together to really go on a run?
That would be fun.
And that's what they're trying to hit here.
Yeah.
Unfortunate they didn't have that last year, but now can you get these next 3 years with them to see what you can do? Because it's very intriguing, because they're, the way Cohen's recruiting quarterbacks should get you excited. And like, we had a question from, let's see here, Hunter in the chat. Do you guys think Stone Saunders silently committed over the weekend? Only asked because he showed up very secretly and surprisingly. I think that's a high possibility.
Yeah, there's a very good chance.
His mom and dad were wearing UK gear, and
Hmm.
they looked very happy to be there.
Huh.
Now, Nebraska is the top competitor there, but there's a very close relationship with Cohen.
Yeah. I forget exactly what it is, but his dad used to train Cohen, or they used to train quarterbacks together, or there's something along those lines there.
Yeah, like family friend is the term I've heard when used there. I think they've got a very good chance at him, and especially now with Boley in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Separates it. 3 names we've heard in that class were Cutter Boley, Stone Saunders, Ryan Montgomery. Ryan Montgomery's just been everywhere. There's no real tells on where he's going to go. But now we're reaching the point, Nick, where teams are starting to take quarterbacks in that class.
Yeah.
There's been a Clemson. It looks like they're about to take a commitment. Ohio State, I think, is pretty close to getting to decide what the quarterback they want to zone in on. And Elite 11's going on this weekend.
Yeah, that's
And
a big
decisions
one.
are going to start happening after that, because that's when the next batch starts to roll. And so I think, I wouldn't be surprised if we go to SEC Media Days and Stone Saunders is committed to Kentucky.
Ooh, heard it here first, folks. You're also going to hear who's going to win the U.S. Open this weekend, because Luckett, Father's Day, it snuck up on me. I think with all the live stuff, like it just, and it's been the sports season it seems to have prolonged a little bit more than usual. Like the Reds are good, so Ellie De La Cruz, like I've had sports to pay attention to, and then now all of a sudden, like bam, we get to watch a bunch of dudes hit it. I mean, they have 280-yard par threes.
They have 5 par 3s on this course, and I think 3 of them are 265 plus.
Yeah, like get out the driver, right? I mean, it's crazy. So I did my Luckett research because I know your methodology, and it's going to be strokes gained off the tee, I'm sure, is the advanced stat of the week, because you got to play along and, ideally not get in the rough. And I like getting good value. So I got Victor Hovland at plus 1,800. He's been playing well.
Hot hand.
Won the Memorial 2 weeks ago. So I got Victor Hovland as a little win bet sprinkle.
You're missing the best part of this tournament is that it's in Los Angeles.
Oh, so we get night golf?
So you get night golf. So
oh man, Sunday night, Father's Day.
So Thursday, one. I mean, here's the TV.
Honey, can you put the kids to bed?
Here's the TV schedule, Nick. Round 1 Thursday, 1 to 11. Round 2 Friday, 1 to 11. Round 3, 1 to 11. Round 4, 1 to 10. So you're getting prime time golf. So you come home from work and you can just watch some golf.
That's great, because we did that with the Masters replay, right?
Then, Sunday, Father's Day. If that's how you like to spend Father's Day, that's how you got to spend it.
And you can do the activities with your kids early on, right? You do all that, and then after. Oh, thank you, U.S. Open.
Nick, you're right. This is par 70 over 7,400 yards. This is a massive course. Two of the par 3s go 285 plus. That's the damn par 5 near at Charlie Bettner. And then they've redone this course. It's the first time they've played U.S. Open at Los Angeles Country Club. It's the first time they've been in L.A. since like the 1930s or 40s. Now they play in L.A. every year at Riviera, but this is going to be brand new. Like these players, this is brand new.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of they're kind of walking in blind. The big thing this week is there's bunkers near the green, and the grass around the bunkers is ridiculous.
Yeah, you lose the ball.
And then around the green, it's not too bad, but there is substantial rough around the greens. But the greens are different. They have some large greens, you have small greens. They're mixing it up. No water hazards. But you're right. Whoever can get off the tee the best is going to have a great chance. And so really, it's your first getting on the dance floor and giving yourself a chance with the putter. So getting the greens in regulation is huge this week. But yeah, I'm looking like Scotty Scheffler has just been awesome this year.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't played great in the majors, but he's number one and off the tee, and he's number one tee to green. Like I would be shocked if he's not in contention on Sunday. He's the favorite. You can get him for 6-1 to win. I think you can get a minus 150 for a top 10 finish. He's the only guy in the field where you have to lay money to win in the top 10. But I think it's a safe. It's that way for a reason. He's going to finish top 10. He's got, I think, 12 top 10s and 15 or 16 starts this season. So this is just what he does. And I think it fits him this week because you're going to have to shot shape a little bit. He's great at that. Like he's got a great chance to win. Top 10, I like Terrell Hatton. He's had some good plays. He's had some decent finishes in the U.S. Open. He's got a really hot hand. He's second at the players, T5, T4 at Arnold Palmer, T6 at Phoenix Open, T12 Memorial, T15 PGA Championship. So big tournaments. He's played well this year.
Terrell Hatton.
So top 10 play, you can get plus 260. Jason Day's another one I like at top 25. He's had a good season. He's played well in the U.S. Open in the past. And then like with Brooks playing like he is, he just feels like a good match at play.
But is he going to be exhausted from?
I'll take my chances with him because he's
his own one.
Yeah. So you can get him against Cantlay minus 110, and then there's some. You can do 3 balls. Or you can just do a single round with Brooks. Like he's just the only majors he's really played bad in, not in contention, is when he was hurt last year.
Yeah.
Of recent form.
In US, so he's got 3 PGAs. Does he have 2 US Opens?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, so we've seen him excel in this because he's so good off the tee as well.
Yeah, and we've seen him win He's won, I believe, twice. He's won the U.S. Open and PGA in the same year.
Hot hand?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he's the hottest hand.
The hottest.
Yeah.
Has he still got the frosted tips?
No, he got rid of that.
Okay.
No, that's gone. That was the documentary. He was rocking those.
What if I showed up to a salon and said, "Yes, I'd like some frosted tips"? What do they say?
Well, they're gonna have to get some paint out.
Just get out the watercolors.
Just spray. Just go, let us go to Walgreens, and they come back with
the little foil they put on the ladies' hairs, and it's just like they just wrap a cone around my head and start dumping product in there. Oh man! Well, to all the dads out there, Luckett, he's got his first Father's Day,
one.
so I know he's very excited. To all the first-time dads, all the dads who want to be dads, and all those who don't have your dads, still, we hope you have a happy Father's Day and can enjoy it with your family. And thanks for hanging out, enjoying some time with us here on the KSR YouTube channel, to everybody here at Monticello Bank with us, and to our friends at Monticello Bank. They're for the people.
We're gonna do another
For the
one of these in
people.
Lexington, I believe, is planned.
Oh man, that's exciting.
Some point this summer, so stay tuned.
Yeah, and also with SEC Media Days coming around, we're getting our fall lineup. We're tinkering with it. We're tinkering with the football fall lineup. So plenty of content, plenty of new content coming to this here YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed, especially to hear that interview with Brad White. We'll get it up on the podcast feed as well. But check that out coming this weekend in honor of Father's Day. We appreciate everybody here from Monticello Bank. That's Adam Luckett. I'm Nick Roush. Go Cats and go Curl Green.